Welcome to Resourceful Humans, everyone. I'm your host, Corey Haber, and today I have Joan and Dominique with me, and we're going to talk about new tips and suggestions they have, things that they've been doing as well in this new work remote environment to help with employees' mental health and happiness. And I know that, Dominique has come from a very remote background, so that's, not so much new for him. And then I'm glad we have Joan, who's the complete opposite. So we're going to get to hear new things they've implemented, things they've been doing in the past already, and just their opinions on everything. So thanks for coming, you guys.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you for having us, Corey.
Oh, you're welcome. So I know when we spoke before, you mentioned that there were, I noticed too, there were a lot of parallels, things that you're doing similarly, more similar, and some differences. So let's start off, tell everyone what are the parallels between the two of you?
So I could jump in, Joan, to start if you don't mind. I think one of the biggest parallels between Joan and I in that this wasn't new to work remote. We both have experience with virtual offices and working from home. So when the COVID crisis hit, it wasn't so much of, oh, we have to close everything down and figure out how to work virtually. We were predominantly set up that way to begin with. And it was more on how can we expand and address our employees going through a difficult time, more so than actually having to figure out how to create a work from home setup for an employee, if you will.
Right, Dominic. We had started flexible working approximately 2 years ago, giving people the option to have a few days a week in the office and a few days a week remote. Now, of course, we're 100% remote, but we had structures in place. I would say that perhaps we listen very well to the organization. We've had multiple surveys, both from our parent company, Informa, and from Taylor and Francis Group, giving out employee surveys, questionnaires about what would make this transition a bit easier for you. We have a lot of courses that I built on the remote environment. How do you manage when you're a manager now that it's remote? As a colleague, how do you manage yourself, your time, your stress levels, balancing being in a remote environment that in most cases it's people's homes since they don't have separate offices. So we did a lot of things that led to one conclusion that I had, which I found surprising. I found that in all the courses I was leading, most of the issues that people shared with me about the remote environment, same as face-to-face, was a clear focus on the need for effective communication, consistent communication, staying in touch, and also getting to know your people and saying, you know what, Mary seems a bit stressed today. She's usually more talkative. Let me, have a little sidebar with her to see how she's doing in this environment. So we're doing a lot of that, a lot of Yammer groups, a lot of social events, virtual social events, social teas that have been instituted by our wonderful UK colleagues, 20 minutes just to connect with each other formally or informally about projects, a lot of things for recognition, something called applause, where we can reach out and praise. We have something interesting too called the Profile Project, where we profile someone and we ask them to tell about their career path, any struggles they may have overcome, what they did before they entered publishing. And that's been working really well also. Breaks down the silos and makes, oh, I didn't know that about Dominic, for example, or Corey. So it's opening up a lot of dialogue.
That's great. That's a great
Communication is definitely key. We pride ourselves in being very transparent from the top level all the way down. Similar to what you mentioned about the recognition, we have a high five channel, so anybody can kind of give a high five or praise to a team member or to a project or just anything really on it to give some recognition. Also, when you mentioned the work from home, it's okay if you're interrupted by a child in a meeting. We've come out and said, listen, this is new for all us. It's okay if a child runs on camera. It's almost nice sometimes to break up the meeting or something like that. So it's okay. Like, it's not frowned upon when that happens. So that's also, welcoming and letting people know things are going to happen. It's not the same normal environment. Children are home now. Our aspect, so being that we were remote, it was not necessarily how do we work remote, but when you're stuck inside, even if people work from home, they're used to being able to go outside or even go to a coffee shop or something to work. And how do you address that aspect when you're pretty much stuck indoors? And we have a lot of employees that, live by themselves or might be the only employee in a state or a country that they work in. So how do we make sure that they stay social and connected?
Right.
We had created a social committee really to focus on different events that we can do that are non-work related, whether it's a trivia game or a virtual happy hour or a fireside chat, just to sort of take your mind off of work 24/7 and have like that outlet that you can join and socialize when you're stuck indoors.
I think committee is brilliant. I think right now every company that's remote should have a social committee, and especially that includes the employees, because the employees know what's gonna, help them stay social and what they want during this time. Like myself, I'm the same way. I work from home alone, and I've never really realized working from home was great before, but now then you're stuck inside and you don't have the option to go anywhere. It's a lot different.
Exactly. So we put this calendar out for the whole month. It's actually a committee. It was set up by volunteers. We do have somebody that leads the committee, but it was set up by volunteers that wanted to join, and they look for, it could be something that's a pre-scheduled event, or it could be something silly like, today is Find a Rainbow Day, go post a picture of a rainbow on a site. So and someone goes outside and snaps a photo and puts it up, just something, some sort of outlet.
Right.
Dominic, I like that combination of something planned plus spontaneous.
Exactly.
I think that's great because you have the option.
Yes. All the social stuff we've done is definitely voluntary. Nobody's forced to do it. In fact, our most recent initiative, we created a buddy system where we randomly pair you up with another individual in the company, somebody that's not part of your team or somebody that you usually work with. And you'll pair it up for a quarter. It's completely voluntary. If you don't want to be part of the program, you do not have to. And it's up to those two individuals to check in with each other once a week or bi-weekly, whatever works best for the two of them, just to have sort of another outlet and somebody checking in and seeing how you're doing. And with that, you get to learn about that person as well and learn a little bit about their background and stuff.
I like that, Dominic. You're bringing up a point. We have a very big initiative, as I'm sure you do as well. And Corey, I'm sure you have it also. Diversity, inclusion, belonging. We have very big, push on that right now. And to your point, Dominic, about reaching out to someone that you may not speak to every day, we are trying to expand our networks so that we do get to know other cultures, other roles, other functions, so that we're more diverse and more culturally diverse. So that's a really good point, that you may reach out to someone you may not ordinarily work with, which helps the diversity and inclusion factor that we're trying to build. It's great.
Yeah, I'm curious, what are your opinions on making a program like that, not voluntary? Because to be honest, I think that if it wasn't voluntary, it almost pushes those people that are more introverts to participate and get to know other coworkers that they wouldn't on a normal basis get to know.
I think in the end, though, you want the individual to feel comfortable. It shouldn't be forced upon. Some people are more introverted, some people are more extroverted. If they don't get involved in this particular project or initiative, there's plenty of others that they can. So I want people to kind of get involved where they feel comfortable enough to open up and to want to do that, not necessarily forced.
That's true.
I like that idea because, and I like bringing up the point about introversion and extroversion. People see social things very differently.
They do.
When they're extroverts or introverts, and it's great, Dominic, you have that variety of activities that you can do, and so do we. For the introverts, the extroverts, like the channel you mentioned, I think you were telling me something earlier about a gardening channel, a pets channel, something that wouldn't necessarily mean speaking up, but joining in your own way if you're an introvert.
If there's a common interest with others, we have those different channels. We even have like a help channel where perhaps you need help on something, could be anything really, it could be work related or non, where they can pipe in, does anyone have experience with this specific topic? And those that do will chime in and say, hey, check this resource out, or I know this. And it's a way again, to kind of reach out without being forced voluntarily. If you need help, you have it.
Yeah, I think you were mentioning Slack with me when we spoke earlier. We have Yammer, which is similar and to that too. Here's an expertise. Here's a question I have. Can anyone jump in and help? Yeah, that's really good. I like your point about having a child pop in or having a pet pop in. I think it's human. It's natural. And quite frankly, I'm kind of enjoying it as a side effect of this environment because I'm getting to know people's partners. I've gotten to meet a lot of their children and their pets.
Sure.
That's not something I would have had the option to do if my friend is in India,
Right.
or in the UK. So I was like, wow, let's look on that, as a positive.
I think it also humanizes us. We recall at the end of the day, we are all human. And, when you're in the office and you're in the daily grind and you're working 9 to 5 and
Right.
hey, we all have stuff outside of work. We have loved ones, we have pets, we have whatever the case may be. And we get to share this actually now. We try and encourage when possible meetings to put camera on. We understand that not everybody is comfortable doing it. When we have our monthly company call, those that are presenting, we do ask to make sure they turn the cameras on to give a chance for everyone to see. Some of our meetings we do on camera, and some of them, listen, if it's a quick phone call that's really fast, it's not always necessary, but we do encourage the visual when possible.
We do as well. I, as a trainer, of course, have to be on camera. I feel that would be not great if I were not on camera. So I may have 30, 40 people in front of me, and a lot of them come ahead of time and say, Joan, you know what? I'm kind of having an off day today. I may be a little dressed casually. Is it okay if I participate off camera? And of course we say yes. We'd rather have you participate and be a part of it rather than not attend the training because you didn't want to be on camera. Because, as I always say, this is your home now. It's not like you're in an office meeting, but it's your living room in most cases. So maybe that day you don't feel like you want to invite 40 people into your living room. So it's okay.
Oh, I've never thought about it like that.
Well, it's funny what you mentioned about, maybe you're not dressed and want to be on camera. So most of us are never dressed in our line of work in tech and cybersecurity and stuff. I mean, this is the fashion. It's t-shirts, it's hats, hoodies, and it's okay.
Technically,
well, I'm dressed for work today. It's so we encourage that it's okay. I remember when I first went on camera, even though I was used to working remotely, I was making sure my hair was combed. I had a meeting with my CEO, and I'm going like this, and she's like, "Stop! You don't need to do that." And we encourage. It's okay. Listen, especially now when everybody's from home, you will see people not shaving. You will see baseball caps. You will see hoodies. You will see t-shirts.
Yeah.
It's okay. And you know what? People are more comfortable being in their own clothes, especially being at home. That I think it makes a even more comfortable work setting.
Well, I guess that's another parallel we have, because in publishing, especially academic publishing, we definitely are not fashion plates. We are not very much wardrobe focused. Like I always say, good thing we don't work for Condé Nast, any of those other fancy publishers where you'd have to dress, or those fashion companies. Yeah, we're kind of similar. Dominic, I meant to ask you, offensive security. So you are an HR manager.
Yes, I'm the director of HR for us.
The director for offensive security, and I think you do cyber security and.
Yes.
Sorry, I didn't introduce myself. I'm Joan Capua from Taylor and Francis Group. We're academic publishers, journals, ebooks, books of all types, all kinds of industries, and finance, business, a lot of science, and we sell to a lot of consumers, and authors, publishers, and researchers all over the world.
Thank you. I was going to say, you guys were on a roll, so I didn't want to stop you. But go ahead. Yeah, I think it's important for everyone to know your background, what you do, and the industry you're in.
As Joan mentioned, we're in cybersecurity. I'm the senior director of HR. Those that are in the cybersecurity world definitely would have heard of offensive security. We have the try harder motto. If you're not in cybersecurity, you may not know who we are, but that's our background. We are located throughout the United States and throughout the world. We have a staff member in 28 different countries.
Wow. That's a lot. So quick question.
Global as well, yes.
Do you include are employees internationally all included in the same social events that you do virtually? Or do you have separate events for the US versus outside the US?
So
The
they
time.
are included. We do try and space out some of them for different time zones.
Okay.
We do have a lot of employees in the Philippines, and they do sometimes do host something separately because that is 12-hour difference. But other than that, I mean, they are obviously, everybody's always welcome and invited to any one of our happy hour social events, whatever the case may be. And, we try and stagger it when possible so we can give others a chance to
Yes,
attend.
that's
We
more what I
realize,
meant.
it's
Yeah.
it's very difficult to get everybody at once. So we may have to do something, say, early one day or late another day to allow that to happen.
Yes, we've been doing the same thing, trying to balance that out. And some that originated in one office, perhaps it will go to that one office, and then another office might tag on and say, hey, that's a great idea. I think I'll do the same for my own area. But yeah, we have the time zone challenge, right, Dominic?
Yes, definitely time zone challenge. And with the time zone challenge also comes, it's not expected if somebody pings you at their hour and it's middle of the night for you, that doesn't mean you need to respond, but that's when that person needs to get that information out. So it doesn't mean that you need to wake up in the middle of sleep to address it at that time. We do, we do let people know in the team that this is going to happen. This is normal. It's okay.
That's interesting. I built a program called Before You Hit Send. And as you may imagine, it's all about effective communication via email. And that's really our default right now. So I give tips on being really careful about tone, not being too abrupt, because sometimes being concise right now is considered abrupt. Appreciate that other people are under some stress. But Dominic, to your point, we always make sure that we manage expectations and say to someone, you know what, you might get an email from me because I'm working at 3 a.m., but don't feel any pressure that a response is required outside your normal work hours.
Exactly.
You do build that into the program to say, hey, we're just understand.
That's a great program. I should maybe take your program. I'm guilty of sending an email on a Sunday, but I tell my team, listen, this is me catching up. Please do not stop what you're doing. This is a weekend. They know that they do not need to respond to my team when I send something. It's just sometimes it's quieter and I can get some more stuff done.
Yeah.
I think, you know what? I think also the times are kind of blurring into each other. Sometimes people say to me, so Joan, what are you going to do this weekend? And I'm like, let's see. Well, I used to go to Pilates, yoga, sit in my favorite cafe and have lunch, but that's kind of reduced. So we do end up working, I think, a bit more on weekends. But right to your point, Dominic, you want to make sure no one thinks, oh, I got an email on a Sunday. Does that mean I have to answer? Yeah, we don't.
Well, speaking of yoga and Pilates, if you want to attend one of ours, we employ a wellness coordinator. Right. And Ashley hosts yoga weekly and wellness challenges that you can sign up for, whether it's a monthly challenge or whether it's just attending one weekly session. We do host that for our team as well. Obviously, as you mentioned, you can't do some of those things externally anymore. So we've brought it right home.
That's great. Yeah, we have someone streaming some yoga and Pilates as well. Yeah, a lot of it in different time zones, but usually UK based. But yeah,
I know that's a really popular topic right now, trying to have the yoga Pilates virtually for your employees. So can you go into a little bit more detail of how is that planned? How do employees, become a part of it? Does it cost anything? I think all those questions are very hot topic questions right now.
Dominic, did you want to go first? Do you want me
to
go?
I could go first. So,
sure.
So for me, it's we have an actual wellness coordinator who works for us. She's actually on my team. And we'll send out the calendar invites so you know exactly when they are. I think it's Tuesdays and Thursdays, if I'm correct. Obviously, I'm not a yoga person, so don't hold it to me. But you know when it is. It's on your calendar. It goes out to the entire company. So you
very regular.
Very regular schedule. In addition to that, there are different challenges. There's wellness challenges that will go out. It could be something totally different this month than it is the next month. Those are volunteer. You sign up for them. If you sign up for them, it's expected that you'll get through the whole challenge. It's usually 30 days. We actually give a prize out to the winning team who completes it.
Wow.
But
That's
that's
pretty cool.
definitely that's more rigorous and takes more of a commitment than just logging on for, 30 minutes or something on a Tuesday.
But it makes it fun. I like that.
I like that. And also it makes more of a commitment. And then you're
Yeah.
achieving something at the end. Yeah, we don't charge for our sessions. They're streaming yoga and Pilates. But Dominic, I don't think you charge for yours, right?
No, this is an actual employee of us. We have a
Right.
wellness
Same here.
coordinator
Yeah.
that runs them. In addition, we actually have one of our Slack channels is a wellness channel. So people share different tips, health tips, whether it's mental health, whether it's physical health, whether it's recipes, anything related. And it's an open channel that anyone can join and take part in it as well.
That's great.
That is good. Tell us more about the channels. I know you said you had a lot of channels. What are the different topics?
So besides there's ones that everyone's in where it's company announcements or topics like that, but we do have different groups. There's a gaming one, a pets one, a gardening one, a help one, a socials responsibility one. There's
You have a lot.
a few. Yeah, if I sit there trying to go through all of them off the top of my head, I'm not sure. But when you do join us, you do get a list of all those in part of your onboarding. I don't remember every single one, but there's quite. If you could think of a topic, we probably have it.
Wow.
That's great. That's great. Yeah, we do have a lot of similar channels, and our parent company is Informa. So we also can avail ourselves of those resources as well. And they have a tremendous amount on wellness. We have a lot of diversity initiatives, a lot of activities, all kinds of things as well. And right, I would be hard pressed to give a whole list of them, me too, Dominic, because there's a lot of them, fortunately, that I haven't even gotten my way through.
I know some places, some employers that are just getting started on these type of programs. So they need suggestions. What are some other, I know we've talked about channels. We've talked about I want to hear a little bit more about your program, Joan, that you put together for the emailing program.
Yes, absolutely. It goes along with a lot of the remote management programs that I'm leading as the learning and development manager. What I'm doing is I've answered a lot of, when I first joined Taylor and Francis, according to surveys, everybody said, Joan, the first thing you've got to do, please help us with effective email. Please, cross-culturally, response time. Is it too abrupt? Is it concise? Is it too long? Is it not for email? So I built a course that talks about the basic best practices that directly addressed the employee requests, such as, please help these people not be so abrupt. There were also cultural differences. For example, I always say, take your cue from the person that you're receiving the email from, because, I think in the US, we tend to be a little more direct with our communication. If we need something, we'll be like, hi, Corey, could you provide me with this? Whereas sometimes in the UK, in Asia, that's considered a bit more abrupt. And all of a sudden I would get this email from someone there and they'd say, hi, Joan, how was your weekend? And how was your family? Did you have this holiday recently? And I got my cue. Wow, I need to adjust my email for that culture. I can't be direct. I need to have more of that ice breaking and warmth and human touch. So I built the program saying, let's look at the culture. Right. Is this, if you want to test your email, read it out loud. How does it sound to you? If it's really important, have a second pair of eyes look at it, rehearse it, be really careful. Once it's sent, it's sent. And then, of course, a lovely fail-safe, put it in your delayed response so that it comes for 5 minutes, so that you can really have time before you release it. Mm-hmm. And then if a conversation is, say you're having an email back and forth and maybe things get a little heated, people start misunderstanding each other, I say, you know what, switch it up. Get them on Zoom or get them on Teams or change up the channel. Don't keep the email going back and forth because it's escalating and it's not working. It's the tone. I remember I first, when I started studying email, I had a wonderful intern early on in my career. And I asked her to do a project that was due in 3 weeks. She got it back to me in 3 hours.
Wow.
So I, being the wise guy that I am, to give her a compliment, wrote back to her in an email, "That's great. What took you so long?" Guess what? She did not take that as a joke.
Oh, wow.
Okay, so you have to be careful with email with humor.
You're right.
And I had to really repair that relationship. And I said, "My God, you completed something in 3 hours that was due in 3 weeks." And she said, it was never the same. So that's why I say, let's be real careful. So we go through best practices. What are the top 20 pitfalls? But it is a fun program, I think. I hope.
I think it's a very important program too. And I feel like a lot of people's initial thoughts when you think of mental health and happiness for the employee in this remote environment, the first thought are programs like yoga, Pilates, the channels we discussed. I know some people do these virtual happy hours, and they don't really connect it to the communication between their employees on a day-to-day basis, which I think directly affects the the happiness and the mental health side of things. Whether it's social, work-related, people need to understand the best way to communicate, especially with each individual person. Everyone's going to be a different personality, and you need to learn each personality to communicate the best way you can. So I think it directly ties in, and honestly, I think is an event or a program that businesses should really put into place right now.
Right. Yeah, I agree, Corey. I think it really goes a long way to connecting people, especially where we're in under stressful conditions right now.
Right.
So communication can sometimes get a little heated when we don't intend it to. So thank you.
True. With the, he's talking about the stressful times that we're in and being virtual and being remote. So we recently in the second quarter revamped our onboarding process as we were continuing to scale as a company. What worked with X amount of people is not going to work with Y amount of people. So obviously we did automate where we could, but one of the things that two of the big pieces that we added, one was we built a deck. It was literally like an OffSec 101 deck that tells the story of us and who works on what teams and who, who's where. And this is a living document that we constantly update, and I've shared it with our new hires, and they said that, this is great. A lot of times we get these decks and we don't really look at them, but now that we're truly virtual, we can actually refer to it and see who's where. In addition, we put in these new hire checks where, when we're smaller, you check in with the new hire here or there, but like we've actually really put in a robust program where we check in with them first day, first week, first month, like a whole check-in. And the HR representative, Sarah, who does that for us, she will then share that information with the manager, and we can see if there's any shortcomings or any somebody not feeling comfortable in the role. And what we've learned is a lot of times if you're new, you might not feel so comfortable telling your manager right away, but you feel more comfortable telling the HR person that you've built the relationship through the onboarding process, through the hiring process. And it's actually working wonderful because we're finding out little things that you might not pick up, or maybe the employee wouldn't have shared if they didn't have this opportunity.
Wow, that's great, Dominic. And that's so important because now, formerly we used to say, welcome, come on into the conference room, have your muffins and coffee and meet everyone. But that's great. You put the focus on, oh my God, how will we welcome these people virtually? We've recently converted our whole onboarding to a virtual platform. And what I always like to add in is the top 20 things you wish you knew your first week on the job. So I surveyed people and said, hey guys, when you first joined Taylor and Francis, what were the things you wished you knew your first week? And it sounds like you're doing that as well. But the check-ins are so important, Dominic, because people always say that, the old expression, well begun is half done. When someone's onboarded really well, I think that's the first step in retaining them, keeping them engaged and productive and happy. But I like the way you have those check-ins where we're starting that as well. Yeah.
It's definitely useful and beneficial. And listen, it's areas we can improve in. Like you said with just a minute ago of what you wish you would have known we do take the feedback back and look into, is this something that we're not doing or we are doing? How can we continue to improve?
I want to ask a quick question about the check-in. So I know a lot of HR directors that are implementing that right now. And I've heard both sides. I know some that are doing it very flexible. It's a casual conversation. And then the complete opposite with some companies are doing, it's a very structured check-in. It's structured as in specific questions that they're supposed to ask each employee, the person who's checking in. So how do you handle the check-ins? Is it structured? Is it just a casual, hello, how are you doing?
So it's structured in the aspect of when we do it, but it's not structured as to what the conversation is.
Okay. That's good to know.
Same here. Yeah. And Dominic, I like your point about you're leaving it open so that they could speak to other people in HR. Maybe, as you said, they may not be as comfortable speaking directly to their manager about some things.
In the very beginning, sometimes, listen,
Right.
It's human nature. You don't want to come off as if you don't know something or you don't. So you may not ask. And the last thing we want you is to not ask. So this gives you an opportunity to maybe ask something that maybe you're not comfortable your first week or first 30 days asking, but you will eventually be.
Yeah. Speaking of asking, I think a very good point, Dominic, I think you kind of touched on this, is making sure people know where to go for information.
Yes.
Like, okay, who in HR does this, or this? Because I think when you first join a company, sometimes it's like, who do I ask?
Yeah.
So
that's happened to me.
Yeah, that's why we built that deck. So you literally can
Right,
know
that's
who to
great.
ask, what to do, what you should know your first day, your first week, what you should expect, that type of stuff.
We've done that too, just to say who's who in HR, who's who here, who's who there, in addition to those old org charts that now, as you said, Dominic, people are reading the org charts now because they may not get to meet that person.
Exactly.
Yeah. Right.
Exactly.
So the deck pretty much introduces each person and what they do and a little tidbit about themselves. Is that how it's arranged?
It starts with sort of the background of the company. It goes into the products. It goes into the different teams, who's located where, that type of stuff. And it's constantly updated as things change.
Gotcha. It's funny when I think of a deck to introduce people or kind of help employees get to know the people that already work there, I keep thinking of the Brady Bunch introduction where they they bring in all the different squares of each person in the family and what their names are. That something like that would be very funny, I think, to introduce new employees.
Well, we have when somebody brand new starts for us, the manager will announce in one of the Slack channels and a blurb about the individual, what team they're on, where they're located. In addition, when we have our monthly town hall that everyone's on, we open up with anybody that we've hired since the last hire, and let everybody know who's joined and where they're located and what they do.
Oh, that's smart.
We have that too. We have a little intro. Corey, that's very funny. You mentioned the Brady Bunch with the squares.
Yeah.
It looks like with Zoom and with Teams, we've gone back to squares, haven't we?
We have. We've gone back to the Brady Bunch.
Right.
Can't get away from it.
Right. One thing I'm very curious about, you both have so many great programs that you've put together and that you've implemented. And I think the hardest thing to do is to get high participation in a lot of those. Do you have any specific strategies for getting a lot of participation? Because I know people, they work from home, they might still want to socialize, but at the same time, they might not want to sit in front of their computer.
Sure. To answer your question, so some stuff works and some stuff doesn't, but we don't know until we try it. But what we did was after the committee was running for a bit and we did a bunch of different events, we actually sent a survey out we actually were shocked at how much stuff we'd done until we put it in the survey and then asked, what did you like? Which ones did you not like? So we can continue to build on the stuff that we liked and eliminate the things that we don't. One of the other things that we just did very, very simple, and I forgot to mention throughout this, we just have twice a week. It started with basically a COVID check-in where it's literally at this time, there's an open Zoom. Anyone that wants to join can join, talk about anything that they want. And we did it in the height of it. And then it seemed that people still wanted to have that outlet. So we keep doing it. The attendance goes up and down depending on, but it is an outlet that everybody knows. On Tuesdays and Thursdays, there'll be an open Zoom. Somebody from HR is always on it. Our CEO is always on it, and gives people a chance to join. But to answer your question, they don't always work. We did a survey and we built it on, continue to do the things that people seem to like.
I have to say the fact that you're on it, your CEO's on it. One of my biggest pet peeves when I work with some businesses is you can't expect, and this is just my opinion, you can't expect high participation from employees if the management is not going to participate.
Correct.
Because you lead by example for a lot of people. And if you seem like it's not worth your time to be a part of, why should they? And I see that happens, honestly, way too often. The management is not supportive of certain things, or they may not, they lead by example, but it's more like do as I say, not as I do kind of thing.
Right. That brings up a very good point, Corey. First of all, I love that, Dominic, with the check-ins. We have emojis, about 8 different expressions on our portal.
Oh, wow.
Every day you can check in and give us an emoji. How do you feel? And on the really sad ones, it says, would you like to talk to HR? Would you like to talk to someone, or maybe our employee assistance program, whatever. So we keep that open. But to your point about, this is my favorite topic, how do you get people to participate in training programs? Well, first of all, like Dominic, we survey, what do you need? What do you absolutely want in training, instead of these nice old training programs where you just put them out and said, oh, I hope someone comes.
Right.
I'm very busy. Of course you're busy, because there's no benefit for you to be there. And
Right.
then secondly, Corey, your point, please don't expect me to be at a training if it's not endorsed and already attended by senior leaders.
Right.
We
Exactly.
totally believe in that as well. You got to walk the walk and talk the talk. And it's funny, a lot of people say, well, Joan, your fantastic basic management boot camp there, that's basic. I can't come to that because I've been managing 20 years. And we say, guess what? You need to reinforce the basics. You've been managing 20 years, but it could be maybe the first 4, you did all the basics, the one-to-one structured meetings, effective feedback, et cetera. But you may have to refresh. So come back to the program. So we do have people come back that are very experienced, as well as aspiring managers, but everything is sponsored by our leadership team.
That's great.
Same here. Our LT team is extremely involved.
That's great.
Extremely involved. But we're actually in the middle of our second year. So twice a year, we do an employee engagement survey, which is a very robust survey that covers a lot of topics. And some of these questions we do ask again, because we want to measure how we've improved or have not.
Is it anonymous?
And then there are some new, it is anonymous, yes. And then we build on, if there's a lot of requests in a certain area, then we will look into that. But then throughout so these are 2 ones we do every 6 months they're pretty big, about 75 questions, but we do smaller ones based on specific things. So a minute ago, we were talking about how do you know if these events work or not, the social events. That'll be like a quick, maybe 10 page or 10 question or 5 question about a specific thing we've done to find out if it worked. We don't want to wait to a specific survey to find out if something we're doing works. So we will have some one-offs throughout the year as well.
That's smart.
We even just did a recent one on our company calls. Once a month, we have a company call, and we did a survey about the structure of it. Does everybody like it? Is there anything that you'd like to see? We do allow employees to submit questions. What we found from the last one was they wanted to have a live Q&A. So at the end of it now, we're going to have a live Q&A at the end of the company calls based on the feedback that we received from the survey. So we do make it actionable that, when we can, obviously, we'll make these items actionable based on the responses.
Absolutely. I have to say, Dominic, we're aligned on that point as well. Multiple surveys, both large and small, and to the point. And yes, they're anonymous. And then we have open Q&As with our CEO, with our management teams to answer open forum questions.
Yes.
That's great.
Same here. The questions on those forums are open. The employee engagement survey is anonymous.
Same here. That's great.
No, I think surveying or getting feedback from your employees is one of the most important things you can do for any part of the business. And I see it a lot in the benefits world. I mean, sometimes I will meet a business owner. They say, oh no, my employees don't need benefits. They're fine without them. But they never have asked them. They've never brought it up. And that just comes back to, you should always, I think, communicate with your employees and get their feedback. They are the ones that keep the business going. So
exactly.
they're feedback on everything.
Yeah, and Corey, sometimes it's make or break with accepting a position depending on the benefits package, right?
It is. A lot of times it's make
yeah.
or break. I've even heard little things, like someone will tell me, I took this job over another because they offered dental and then one of them didn't. And that was it. That was simply it. Right. I mean, it is a make or break, but I think a lot of things are make or break now. I think these type of mental health and programs to help you out and staying happy when you're at home, that's becoming something that's more important to employees now, because they're seeing how much they're stuck at home by themselves. A lot of people are alone. They're not at home with their families, but even if they are, it's hard to have conversations and kind of have that outlet to talk about what you do day to day with someone who doesn't do that. And that's probably your spouse and children, and people enjoy having that outlet to speak with other coworkers that understand what they're doing day to day and having that common.
That's a very good point. Like our world of HR, learning and development, benefits, sometimes people don't readily understand. I don't know about you, Dominic. Well, maybe you're a little more clear in benefits, Corey, but when people ask, so what do you do? HR, learning and development, sometimes it's hard to describe, like, about training and surveys and engagement, but I think that's really cool that we actually do care. All of our 3 companies care about people and how they're doing in this environment. And I have to say that I do hear of a lot of companies where, as you said, Dominic, in the beginning, here's your laptop, you're now working from home. No Yammer, no Slack, no activity channels, no wellness committees. And I find that really sad. People are just finding their own way to help with the stress and their mental health and mental well-being without corporate help. And I think that speaks volumes about the types of companies we work for. And it's kind of great that we do have companies that value that.
It is speaking volumes now for people that are looking for positions. And then there are a lot of people moving positions because they're not happy and their company's not doing anything to make them happy while they're at home and alone. And I know in the past that the working remote, especially in the past, I found to be considered a benefit that was offered, but now it's really just almost a requirement in a sense. So
Joan, now it's our favorite word, the new normal.
The new normal.
That's right, Dominic. We were kidding around about that.
Yes. Well, I thank you so much. I think that all of your suggestions and examples of programs you two have put together and implemented are going to be so helpful to people that have not yet started on that or trying to start on it. So I really appreciate it. And I know that you both are so open to answering any more questions someone might have if they reach out to you on LinkedIn. So if anyone does have more questions, feel free to connect with Joan or Dominic.